Welcome, friends, to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. And if you like all things true crime related from a police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Hey, tonight we're going to be talking to you about the live manhunt. This is day 8 for fugitive Danelo Cavalcante. This guy has been on the run, on the lam, since August 30th. He's eluded authorities going into day 8 tonight, Thursday, day 8. Still on the run. Numerous spottings, numerous sightings, numerous locations where he has allegedly been, but no perp back in custody. Hey, just want to say a special thank you to the replay viewers, the moderators, the folks who subscribe to this community. You guys are what makes it great, and I give thanks and praise to each and every one of you, and thank you for being classy in the chat. So I'm going to get into this today. There was a press conference. There was some things cleared up, and there were some issues covered by the Pennsylvania State Police executive. We're going to listen to that, but first I want to just bring you some live coverage. Actually, I'm not going to do live coverage yet. I'm going to let you listen to a little bit of coverage locally on this case. Let's take a listen, and then we'll be right back.
He's been spotted again within the past hour. Authorities revealed convicted killer Danelo Cavalcante was seen this afternoon near Longwood Gardens. The latest sighting comes 1 week after the 34-year-old escaped from the Chester County prison. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Jacqueline London.
And I'm Johnny Archer. Authorities described Danelo Cavalcante as desperate and dangerous as a search for him enters a second week. And while we have learned how he escaped last Thursday and where he has been since then, his exact whereabouts right now remain unknown. But the search goes on with more manpower coming in to help, from tactical units to the FBI. Here's a live look from Skyforce 10 over Route 1 near Lenape Road. And we have live team coverage this afternoon. NBC 10's Tim Furlong has been out in neighborhoods where local, state, and federal agencies have been searching all day. But we begin with Deanna Durante, live in Westchester, where authorities just gave an update. Deanna, what's the latest?
Well, the lieutenant colonel of the state police who's heading up this search says he was always under the impression that Danelo Cavalcante is a dangerous man convicted of murder here in the States and wanted for murder in Brazil. But he also suspects that the convicted killer is getting more desperate. They do believe that today's sighting is not far from where he was spotted by a trail camera on the Longwood Gardens property. This property, not the place where ticketed visitors go in to visit the garden. Rather, it is a place, another piece of property owned by Longwood Gardens. Police say they are keeping the search perimeter with the exception of allowing 2 elementary schools to open. Those schools, however, do have a large police presence on the campus. That current search area where federal, state, local officers, tactical units, dogs, and a lot of electronic equipment, they are focusing on an 8 to 10 mile range, as we were told, near Longwood Gardens. And again, we are told that some of these tactical officers have come in not just from this region, but across the country.
So an individual reported that that he had seen someone matching that description, and he provided us a location that he had seen them running through that area, and so searchers have gone to that area. We're using people on foot. We have horses out there as well that are assisting with the search, tactical teams, and of course the aviation assets that you mentioned.
Now, police say at this point they cannot prove if Cavalcante has broken into any homes, cars, businesses, but they do say clearly he has gotten himself some supplies there. They do not want him to get any more. They want him to remain in that search area. They want to be able to catch up with him. That's why knowing what he looks like, paying attention to your property, reporting anything if it appears missing is important. Investigators still asking for the help of the people in this region. If you see him, call them.
So I wanted to just say one thing. It's frustrating for a lot of us because Here we have the reporter, and we heard the superintendent of the Pennsylvania State Police. He said, I cannot confirm because they don't have confirmatory evidence that he was in someone's home. But we know that we heard an eyewitness. There was a man who said his wife was home. He told us call 911. He confirmed that to reporters and to the police that this escapee, Danelo Cavalcante, was inside his home. But yet when we hear them reporting and we hear the state superintendent talk about it, he won't confirm it because they haven't processed either DNA or did, fingerprint analysis at the home, or any of that stuff might not be back yet where they can 100% concrete say it. But we know from eyewitnesses that at least one eyewitness saw him in his home. He flashed the lights on. Remember that story? He flashed the lights on. This was, I think, over the weekend. Labor Day weekend, he flashed the lights on, flashed them off, and the guy, this perp, actually put the lights back on too. I was saying to one of my friends the other day when we were talking about this, was like, too bad that guy didn't light him up like a Christmas tree right inside his house. That would have been street justice 101 right there, right? But let's listen to the rest of this.
That's the latest reporting live in Westchester. Deanna Durante, NBC 10 News.
Deanna, thank you for that latest report from investigators.
And search crews have now been out for the 8th straight day trying to track down Danelo Cavalcante and get him back behind bars. Sky Force 10 was overhead earlier this afternoon as authorities searched this wooded area.
NBC 10's Tim Furlong is live in Chatsford with the latest on that. Tim.
Yeah. Deanna and I have been texting back and forth all day. We're keeping our ear to the ground. And just to give you a little insight as to how this all works, when we get a tip, when we hear about a possible break in the case, we literally just pack up, get in the car, and we just go. And we get there. We often see these troopers hunting through the woods, but we don't get to speak directly with them about how they're feeling about the search. Well, today I spoke with a guy who does speak with them.
I'm not sensing frustration. What I see is determination.
The head of Delaware County's FOP chapter is talking directly with the crews searching for Danelo Cavalcante, and Chris Iserman and his team are feeding them, making them sandwiches and giving them drinks whenever they come back to the command post.
These troopers, U.S. Marshals, local police, they want to capture this guy. They want to get him in custody.
Longwood Gardens reopened today and even posted that they were no longer part of the search radius, but early this afternoon, just a tiny bit east of Longwood, the state police chopper was back flying low over the area. Clearly, they had reason to come search this piece of wood farmland near Route 1 and Lenape Road. We saw troopers walking the perimeter of the crops and into the woods. Skyforce 10 spotted them searching around a pond as well. Nobody wants this to last any longer, not residents who, while supportive and appreciative of the police, are still enduring road closures and car searches, and surely not the law enforcement officials themselves doing a dangerous job in challenging terrain and on a blazing hot day.
They want to see their families. A lot of these guys haven't seen their families in 7-8 days. So that's frustrating on them, but there's no frustration in the job they're doing. They're determined to catch him, and I think they're going to do that.
Yeah, so many roads still blocked off. Local schools are back open. The Kennett Mushroom Festival is going on as planned this weekend. I also want to give you an update.
Hey, happy belated birthday to Sergeant George Ishak, if he's in the chat. I missed him the other night. It was his birthday, so happy birthday, Sergeant. It's always great to have you in the chat. Sorry it was flying the other night when you were in, but happy belated 29th birthday to Detective Sergeant George Ishak.
On that tactical search dog that suffered heat exhaustion. The dog's name is Loki. He's out of the hospital and he's doing well. We are told he could be back on the job next week. Hopefully this will all be over by that point. But
I want to put it back because as I was talking and wishing the Sergeant George Ishak a belated happy birthday, I see him in the chat. There was a report that a state police dog was overheated and was suffering heat exhaustion. The dog was in the hospital, and I believe he is Loki. Yes, thank you for that in the chat. Loki is back and home. I saw a picture of him. He's looking great, but this reporter covers that right now.
Yeah, so many roads still blocked off. Local schools are back open. The Kennett Mushroom Festival is going on as planned this weekend. I also want to give you an update on that tactical search dog that suffered heat exhaustion. The dog's name is Loki. He's out of the hospital. He's doing well. We are told he could be back on the job next week. Hopefully this will all be over by that point. But again, the good news is the dog is doing well. The bad news, of course, is that this inmate is still on the loose. We're going to keep you posted.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Some of the coverage from today, it's just mind-blowing. It's just mind-blowing for all of us who are watching this, not just because they're not able to get this guy into custody in what we would say in an orderly, quick fashion. This search is going all over the place, and they are doing the best that they can to contain him with the best intel that they have, with all of the resources that they have. They're up in the air. They've got drones up. They've got horses out there. They're on horseback. They have the K-9 units. They have the U.S. Marshals, the state police, the FBI, local police, and volunteer groups, search and rescue volunteer groups that are doing things outside on the perimeter as well. So there's a lot of resources packed into this thing. So we're looking at it from our homes and saying, why haven't they got this guy into custody yet? But it's easier said than done. And he's been on the lam for 8 days. August 30th, took off, scaled that wall at the Chester County Prison. We all watched it last night. It looked like something out of a Spider-Man movie. But the real adding insult to injury is that in May of 2023, this very same Chester County Prison had an inmate escape, but he was only able to get out for 5 minutes. They said they got him back into custody for 5 minutes. That's reasonable. That's reasonable. And he wasn't a convicted two-time murderer. Now, let me just correct myself. I don't know if he was convicted in Brazil, in his country, but it's confirmed that he murdered somebody in Brazil, fled that country in 2017. The murder occurred. He fled that country, went to Puerto Rico, entered the United States in Puerto Rico, and then got a fake ID, and then came here into the Pennsylvania, New York, Northeast region. Committed a heinous murder and was convicted of that a month ago. And now he's out on the run. I want to play just a little bit from this. I'm going to play a little bit from this press conference because it is lengthy, and I want to just get an idea from you guys in the chat by a show of hands. How many of you guys watched this press conference with the police, with the superintendent this afternoon? Because if you did, I just want to get an idea. So put a 1 in the chat if you watched this press conference. Put a 2 in the chat if you haven't. There is some interesting information that that they put out here. So I don't want to play it if you guys haven't, if you've heard it already. And it is kind of lengthy. There's a lot of reporters volleying questions at him. Looks like there's a good mix of 1s and 2s. Let me save this for, I'm going to save it for the end. But I want to just go over this new sighting in Longwood Gardens because I thought that this was important. And I want to play this for you guys. Just give me 2 seconds. Just want to make sure this isn't the same.
Breaking right now on NBC.
Okay.
10 News at 4.
Yeah. So yeah, here it is, sighting from today. So here's an additional story, and this is from our good friend Chris.
What's the big story on
Fox 29. So I really enjoy the coverage on Fox 29. Great people. He's out there right now. Chris O'Connell from Fox 29. By a show of hands, who's been watching this guy? I mean, he is out there like he's like Superman. He's been running around with his videographer all day, all night. I don't know when this guy sleeps. I know that he ate a bag of peanuts just about an hour ago, and he's going to be live at 10 o'clock on Fox 29. So let's take a listen in on Fox 29. And I got two esteemed guests who are going to be joining us in the second half of this show at the 10 o'clock hour. So let's take a peek and let's listen up.
Day 8 in the manhunt for escaped inmate Danelo Cavalcante. The reward for information leading to his capture, $20,000.
And police say there was a possible sighting of Cavalcante again, this time around noon today at Longwood Gardens. And the location wasn't far from where he was spotted by trail cameras Monday night. Now, despite the search entering its second week, police say they are doing everything they can to catch him. Good evening. I'm Jason Martinez.
I'm Sheba Russell. Local, state, and federal law enforcement continuing to search an 8 to 10 square mile area for Cavalcante. He escaped from the Chester County Prison a week ago today, scaling the prison walls and then onto the roof where he made the mad dash out. There have been several sightings, but police haven't had any luck tracking him down. We want to get out to Jeff Cole right now. He's live in Westchester. Jeff, you were at today's 3 p.m. press conference. Any new information today?
Well, I certainly think there is new information. Look, they believe they've cited him now over this 8-day search
Thank
about
you,
8
Carrie.
times, they say. That search that they talked about near Longwood Gardens is one that we actually watched happen, and you're going to see some of that video in a few minutes. But I think what's new today is they say that they are continuing to pressure him. They do say that they think they will get him at some point. Believe me, you will hear in our 6 o'clock broadcast as we pressure state police as to why they are so optimistic about this. But first, let's take a look at some pictures from Longwood Gardens, at least in the area near the well-known Longwood Gardens, and you saw what was going on today. Here's what it was. In his afternoon briefing, Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens reported a sighting in a field near Longwood Gardens, very well-known area here. It was about midday. Fox 29 watched as a state police copter dropped low along the field during the search. It did it several times. Police officers then appeared and they entered the woods to continue the search on foot. Bivens reported today that 2 elementary schools had in fact opened. He said the perimeter is now 8 to 10.
So I just want to stop it here because some of the folks in the chat and some of the people who have been sending me emails and messages have been saying that they haven't been doing anything. This is from today. This is day 8. You see a state police helicopter hovering that low and looking and searching. And there is thousands and thousands of man hours put into this thing. We're talking about a lot of overtime, a lot of resources, a lot of money. People are asking the question, who gets stuck with the bill? Because guess what? All of this mutual aid is all good and well, and there's a big kumbaya with all the law enforcement agencies. But when push comes to shove, when they got to write the paychecks out to everybody, they're looking to get paid. And people aren't always just saying, well, we got enough money in our coffers where we could do this. This is a whole struggle, and it goes back and forth. The foot of this bill is, generally speaking, on the county and authorities who started it. So the Chester County Prison is responsible for this inmate getting loose. And whoever is funding that Chester County Prison, whatever county that is, and I'm assuming it's Chester County, they're going to get the foot. They're going to get the bill, the foot right in the kibosh, right in the, right in the, I had to bleep it. Sorry, guys.
Square miles wide, and he believes Danelo Cavalcante remains inside. First, he speaks about the sighting near Longwood Gardens.
He had seen someone matching that description, and he provided us a location that he had seen them running through that area, and so searchers have gone to that area. We're using people on foot. We have horses out there as well.
Do you still believe he's within this 8 to 10 mile perimeter that you've set up?
I have every reason to believe he is still within that perimeter. Yes, sir.
You can tell us why you have every reason to believe, sir.
We have had no sightings outside of that area. We have maintained as secure a perimeter as we possibly could. I believe he becomes more desperate. I believe he has always been very dangerous, and I've said that from the start.
So what we have asked him there about that last question where he says, I believe that he remains desperate and he certainly is dangerous, we asked if he becomes yet more desperate and more dangerous as he's out in this hot weather with minimal food and minimal water for 8 days? Does he, in fact, create more of a danger to the public? Remember, this is a murderer. You heard what Bivens says. He says certainly he is desperate. He says he's always been dangerous. He was.
I'm going to just stop it here because there's a couple of questions in the chat, and one of them's from my fellow brother from another mother, my coworker, Mark Zayas. He says, Ron, and he asked me this question the other night, do you still believe he's in the area? Now, I'm going to just go based on my personal experience. You know, when someone like this breaks out of a prison and has very minimal contacts, has very little knowledge of the lay of the land. He's from Brazil. I'm sure that he's trying to just lay low. I have a high probability. I feel there's a high probability that he is in this area, because look at what happened in Texas. And I keep bringing up Gonzalo Lopez. He stayed for over 11 days within a mile and a half from the prison bus that he broke out of. He stayed in that zone within a mile and a half of Leon County. The authorities there made a huge mistake by saying it was safe to go home. It was safe. The area is clear. They actually backed out of that area. They opened up this search zone and they backed out pretty much. They said that they didn't, but they kind of backed out. And a family of 5 was brutally murdered. And it was a vicious fight and a brutal murder of a grandfather and his 4 grandchildren at their lake home. Gonzalo Lopez they fought him. He shot them, stabbed them, and killed all 5 of the Collins families. So I would say that he's the probability of him being local is pretty high. I think that he hasn't gotten out of there. And if he has, then it's going to be up to the authorities to find him. But I got news for you. The U.S. Marshals, Fugitive Enforcement, the Fugitive Enforcement Division of the U.S. Marshals, look him up. They got a long, rich history, and they get their guy. They get their guy all the time. U.S. Marshals are bad asses. Oh, you guys almost heard it. They're bad mother. I said the F word. So let's let the rest of this play. They're going to get this guy. Dead or alive, they're going to get him.
Convicted of murder, he remains confident, he says, that they will pick him up eventually. Now, the Chester County District Attorney said the family of Cavalcante's victim, he's alleged, or he was convicted of stabbing his girlfriend to death in front of her children, that he was convicted of that. It's why he was locked up, that they, of course, are scared. They do not leave their house, and they are, in fact, under protection. Lieutenant Colonel Bivens also said today that more resources are coming. They expect more. He said today, and we pressed him on this, that Cavalcante is not winning this, even though he's been out and on the run now for some 8 days. Live in Westchester, I'm Jeff Cole, Fox 29 News, folks.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much.
So I wanted to say that Sheriff Blevin, or whatever his rank is, I think he's a superintendent of the state police in Pennsylvania. I really enjoyed hearing him say that he's not going to win. That to me was telling. And, you know, they have one thing on their mind, and that is to bring this perpetrator back into custody, this convicted murderer, Danelo Cavalcante. And that's their job. And again, the state police, I got to remind you, the state police, the FBI, and all these agencies that are out there searching for him, we don't really hear a lot of a mention of corrections, but I would imagine that the corrections from the state and possibly beyond that, they are lending a hand in perimeter security. We saw it in Texas. We see it in a lot of these cases. My next guest that I bring on, I'll ask them questions about that, because a lot of times these local, state, and not the feds, but the state prisons, they'll lend personnel they'll assign them shotguns or whatever they assign them. That's what we saw in Texas. They were all along the perimeter. It was all the DC, I think Texas calls them Texas Department of Corrections. So the Texas Department of Corrections sent their guys out to do perimeter security. I'm going to go to Fox 29 for the 10 o'clock live shot because I'm sure we're going to hear from Chris. So let me just find that real quick. 29 live. There it is. All right. I just want to keep this in the hopper. I'm just going to keep watching it as we wait for the 10 o'clock hour to come on. It's just in 4 minutes. So I got it just hanging out. Where is it? Live 29. Hold on a second. Let me hear this.
Here, Corella Hara will be in the anchor chair very soon, guiding you through the next several hours of the top stories of the day. Before we do just that, though, let's go out to the Pentagon, the Defense Department holding their daily briefing today. Deputy
We don't want to hear about the
Sabrina
Pentagon.
Singh
Don't thank you. Shoot. Fox 29 live. All right, give me 2 seconds here. Hold on a second, guys. Let's see what Chris is up to. Okay, he's getting ready for his live shot. Hold on a second. Let's take a listen in.
Guys, we're back.
This is Chris.
Again, we're hearing all kinds of reports of just SWAT teams in the area.
This is live from
tactical units, things like that, and you're seeing them arrive to the scene right now. And probably what you're hearing and what we're hearing are from people who haven't gone through this yet. These are new neighborhoods that are being searched right now.
This is Chris O'Connell from Fox 29, and this is
we're getting a lot. Folly Hill Road. We keep getting lots of reports from people on Folly Hill Road. If you're there, you know. Also, just got. Okay.
I'm just going to push it forward. His audio keeps cutting in and out. He's having a lot of difficulties because he's working on cell data. But there he is. He's getting ready. He's getting ready for his live shot. So that's our reporter, Chris, from Fox 29. Yeah, they're going to be getting out of the car to do their live shot. So we'll pick them up from over there. And then as soon as that 10 o'clock, it's going to be just probably a little short little piece. I have our corrections expert, Anthony Ganji and Russ Hamilton joining us from two different parts of the United States. Russ is on the West Coast. We're on the East Coast. So it's a little earlier for Russ. It's a little past Anthony's bedtime. I know Anthony, he was up late with us and got up early this morning, but we appreciated his input so much that I called him up to ask him to come back, and he was like, I'm ready. Wow, Chris is going crazy. Look at this. I don't know what's happening here. He's really, this guy, man, he's, all right. So that was Chris from Fox. Let me see if I can get the live feed up. See what they're up to. Fox 29. They're doing Pentagon coverage. Why? Okay, I got it. So this is what we're looking at here. You know, I'm on the web version of this, so you guys got to bear with me. But I do want to say, I don't want to say they're doing an unbelievable job. I'm going to go to the chat while I'm waiting for this to come up. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Shredder Entertainment, Aunt BB2, Norma, good to see you. Wendy Craft, thank you for joining. Hi, Kel. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. Glad you guys are having fun. M. Finn is in the building. Good to see you. Thank you, Sean B, for being here. Hi, Diane. What's shaking? Sergeant George Izhag, who just celebrated birthday, said, poor Chris. Chris looks stressed out. He sounds it too. And he's been going for hours and hours and hours. Karen, Legal Minor Friends, she acknowledges a great panel coming up. This second half, the second 30 minutes that we do, is going to be everything from the corrections perspective. And what I'm going to do tonight is I want to get your input. So we're going to make this a town hall meeting in the second half of the show where you can ask our guests, who are two gentlemen who have spent 20 plus years, probably more. I got to get Russ's time on. He probably has more time on than Anthony because he seems a little more seasoned. I'm just kidding. Russ and Anthony, a combination of probably over 40 years in the corrections business. So we'll ask them some questions about as it pertains to this fugitive, Danelo Cavalcante. I don't know why this is not. Hope I'm on the right thing here. Pretty sure I am. Oh, here we go.
Reporting live on the Fox 29 Facebook and YouTube pages for several hours tonight. Chris, you're still in the search zone. Kennett Square, what's the latest?
Well, certainly a stunning development tonight in the search for Danelo Cavalcante, a new and expanded search zone that now impacts many other neighborhoods in Marlborough Township, Chester County, as well as all of the areas around Longwood Gardens. State police said they had new information to lead them to make these changes tonight. Let me show you right now what I'm looking at. This is the search zone. We are on the western side of the search zone, right at the perimeter. That is, we are on Street Road and Northbrook Road in Kennett Square, just north of Longwood Gardens. Longwood Gardens tonight, the focus of the search area after a trail camera picked up Cavalcante, an image on the Longwood Gardens property. That prompted several responses today, but the latest about 6 p.m. tonight. Law enforcement were here. Tactical units arrived, bloodhounds. They went into the search into the woods. There was mounted units with horses also. And then shortly after that, Longwood Gardens was shut down. Operations, they were closed. They were told guests and employees had to leave. Tenants there who actually live on the property are still being told tonight to shelter in place. And within minutes of that, state police came to us and the media and tell us to get the message out on a new search zone that has expanded. They wanted to get that information out as soon as possible. And inside the search zone right now, we can tell you several neighborhoods with tactical units in the backyard and front yards in a very heavily wooded area. Right now, no confirmed sightings. That may come tomorrow when we see some trail cam footage, but right now, no confirmed sightings tonight. So right now, tactical units in those neighborhoods, search dogs, mounted units once again brought in, and now entirely new neighborhoods are in the search zone as we speak. Let's bring you back out here live to this camera. State police, many of them are in that zone, establishing a new zone right now, establishing that new perimeter in hopes of capturing Danelo Cavalcante tonight. Let me bring you back out here. We are outside the search zone. The big question tonight is schools. Are the schools in the area? They've been waiting until the morning time to make any cancellations. I think that's going to be the case tomorrow after guidance with law enforcement, state police. They will tell schools in this area whether they're open or not. But that new perimeter, and I just want to, it's very important. Map, I don't know if we could put that map back up, but here's the new perimeter quickly. North is the Lenape Unionville Road. To the west, it is Northbrook Road and also North Walnut Road. To the west, Kennett Square. To the south, it is Route 1, Baltimore Pike. And then to the east, it is Parkersville Road. So we have a new search area on the search for Danelo Cavalcante.
Someone take a screenshot and send that to me.
This. We're on the live stream. We'll be here through the night. But right now, the search continues, guys.
All right, Chris, and you're on the live stream. You'll be on it right now. I know a lot of people are watching, thousands.
We're on.
Okay. Chris O'Connell, thank you very much, and thank you for your reporting on this. I know a lot of people have been counting on you for the latest information. Let's get to Shawnette now, and you spoke to someone who evacuated from Longwood Gardens tonight.
Yeah, so Jason, I talked to a man who drove here today from Maryland. He thought he was good to go to come today, but was totally caught off guard when his visit here was cut short. That, of course, came as a result of that sighting of Danelo Cavalcante. When that came in, that was around noon today, that he was back in the area of Longwood Gardens. Now, we reported at the beginning of the week this video from a trail surveillance camera captured the escapee walking through the gardens grounds. Now, again, that was Monday night. Back to today, once the search moved east toward Creek Road and Longwood announced it was able to open to the public again, I'm told a small number of people showed up, including a man I met at Wawa late tonight near Longwood Gardens. He said he was quickly escorted off the property by police after the report of that noon sighting.
It's just like a normal day, except there was not many people. And then all of a sudden it started raining. I went to get something to eat. And next thing you know, the police were surrounded. You got to leave right now. Everybody evacuate. The alarm started going off. It was rather freaky.
And you came from Ocean City, Maryland?
Yeah, all the way 3.5 hours.
So what do you do now?
Drive home. I'm getting a cup of coffee and hitting the highway. Put that thing on cruise control and go.
All right, no choice there. Of course, the public interest in all of this heightens each day that this search continues. We were actually, again, at that Wawa. It's on Baltimore Pike, and we would occasionally hear police cars drive by with their sirens going. People working at the Wawa, Jason, would kind of go to the window and look out. Everybody just interested second by second at the latest development. So again, people very interested in this as, again, the search goes into or is in day 8.
Almost reaching day 9 here, Shawnette. Thank you. And our reporters staying safe inside their vehicles tonight due to the severe storms rolling on through.
Yeah, we see Greg Hallam back there. Tell him we said hello.
Yeah.
Be safe.
So we have some good news to bring you tonight in the search here. Pennsylvania State Police say that K-9 officer Loki, who suffered a heat-related illness yesterday during the manhunt, has been discharged from veterinary care and is doing well. We're told he's expected to make a full recovery and return to duty sometime next week.
So we mentioned Chris is live, and we'll talk to him in just a moment, but we're posting live updates as this is happening by the minute on Fox29.com, our Fox 29 app, and our social pages as well. And so thousands of you have been tuning into this right here. This is Chris O'Connell's live stream on Facebook. So it's our Fox 29 Facebook and our Fox 29 YouTube pages, bringing you an on-the-ground view of the search, and Chris is narrating as he goes. So as soon as the minute he learns something, you are finding out. So you can tune in again on YouTube and on our Facebook page.
And now to our weather alert tracking gusts.
Yeah, so the weather was real bad over there. Listen, I'm just going to quickly check with Chris and see what he's up to. Just give me 2 seconds here.
See storms on top of this day.
Just take this off, and then we're going right to Anthony. And we have Melanie Little, too, going to be joining us. I'd like to hear some of Melanie's take on this. I know that she hasn't been following this case as closely as all of us have been, but it's always great to, get a perspective from the attorney's side on this thing. And here, let me just check in with Chris real quick. But I'm delighted to have all of these great folks here who are kind enough to join. Let's see what Chris is up to. Where is he? Where is he? Chris, where are you? I got so many things open. That's what's knocking me out of the box. All right, here he is.
Street Road where the township building is, or
where is he? Chris, where are you? Oh, okay, there he is. I got it. All right, so he's not even back. He still has the we'll be right back thing because he's going to be going live on the live shot. All right, let's bring in our corrections experts. But I just want to say this. I'm going to be cutting back and forth to the live shot to see if they have anything additional, because it's important. They are boots on the ground. Fox 29 and numerous other news outlets are they're in the thick of this. They're out there on boots on the ground. And you know, when things like this happen, and they don't happen often, thank God, you have a lot of media coverage on it. So when he shows his live shots, you see a ton of news trucks. And just by a show of hands here in the chat, who has been watching Chris go all over the place? He's driving all over the place to give that live coverage. And he's got a turret camera on the top of his news truck that he can, do a 360 and go all around. He's got lights. He's got everything. He's doing a fantastic job. And I'm sure that there's other news reporters and news outlets that are out there that are doing an equally as good of job. But he's really doing a bang up job with his coverage. Yeah, so I just want to look at that quickly. I have it running in the background, and when it comes back, I'll break to it. But let's add first of all Anthony and Russ. Melanie is here as well. I want to add her into the conversation. But Anthony, thanks for joining. Russ, thank you for being here. And Melanie Little, look, there she is, our great friend. Guys, again, and I know last night we had a long discussion about the facility, about this break. Anthony, you had a little bit of extra input. I wanted to go to you real quick because this thing has got a lot of people pissed off, not just the local community, and rightfully so. If I had young children, if this was happening in my community, even with my grown adult children here, I would be freaked the out. And I use the F word again. I'm doing a lot of that tonight, but I would be freaked out about it. You know, you got a murderer who's on the loose, and the responsibility, the onus was on the facility, right? Anthony, thanks for joining. What's your thoughts?
I think the people that are the most upset also are the professionals that work in that facility that are now kind of being caught up in this, because I've talked to a few people that have worked at this facility, and of course, you know, the attack on the facility, because maybe you do have somebody that wasn't up to par with what they were supposed to do to be effective, now gets generalized and carried out as a shot, not even just to this facility, but it puts corrections, operations at everyone. I mean, we're all connected at some point. So whenever a story like this puts a negative light on the profession, all professionals that are involved in this profession, you know, we get affected by it.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, Russ, if you can, introduce yourself to the audience, let them know what your background is, and I'd like to get your take on that as well.
Sure. My name is Russ Hamilton. I am a former and retired sergeant from California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I also have done some work as a senior juvenile correctional officer. I now work for a company that does, it's a private company that does reentry and rehabilitation for a local private, not private, local county jail where I am the case manager, and a local county probation department.
Russ, I wanted to go and put you on the hot seat. I'm not even switching back to me. I've got you full screen. What is your thoughts on this inmate breaking out of a prison here, convicted, not sentenced? I don't believe he might. Yeah, he was convicted and sentenced to life without parole, and he was in that waiting period. I don't know how many days he was there, but I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Okay, so just so you know, I was listening earlier. We were talking about, who's going to foot the bill. Pennsylvania has a little bit of an unusual naming convention for their correctional facilities, and so that actually is a state-run facility. For whatever reason, they append county onto it, but it's listed as a prison rather than a jail. So they just do things a little bit different than the rest of the country does.
Right. So I wanted to just get your thoughts on, we know that a prisoner escaped in the same fashion, a similar fashion, in May of 2023. He scaled that very same location. We don't know if he did it the exact same way, but May of 2023, they contract an outside agent, an outside private company to shore up and add, according to the police, the state police spokesman, he said that they contracted a private company to add additional barbed wire and secure up that facility. Fast forward to August 30th of 2023, we look at Spider-Man climb up that wall and get out in a matter of 10 seconds.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, you really need, fresher eyes on it. There was definitely some type of a breakdown there where somebody, either didn't do a thorough enough job, didn't examine the job that was done, and allowed this thing to run its course a second time. Unfortunately, this is the worst type of failure that you can have in corrections, where it becomes, not just a public nuisance, but a public threat. And so, needless to say, they need to really do an in-depth review, and people need to be held accountable and or to step up the plate and just, simply bring the accountability onto themselves. It's a terrible thing, when we have a failure of this type. I feel bad about it, not even, being involved with Pennsylvania corrections. But, I know of other circumstances and have been involved in, other escapes where, my department got the black eye from it. But it's time to really, put some people in there that can have fresh eyes on it, that can fix that specific problem. But where there's problems like that exist, there's probably other problems which they're remaining, unfortunately, unaware.
Yeah, and again, during these press conferences, thank you for that, Russ. Very good analogy there of what's going on. In this press conferences, the reporters are relentless with asking the questions of, hey, why? What's going on? Is there an investigation happening? We want to know how this happened. Who is responsible for it? And Anthony, you said the other night, last night, it's not just the corrections officer that was in that watchtower. It was a complete breakdown from the top. It starts with the executives who run that facility and right down the line, because this guy not only scaled that wall, but ladies and gentlemen, he was able to walk out with this prison garb on, the white shirt, his green pants, and his white sneakers, and was able to walk out into that visitor's entrance and leave out of that facility. Melanie, I wanted to get your thoughts. I know you don't have a lot of data on it, but as a mom of 5, as an attorney, this is a black eye on corrections across the country, and it leaves a lot of us very concerned because there's jails all around us.
Yeah, I have 3 teenage daughters, and they came to me today and they said, "Have you heard about this prisoner that escaped in Pennsylvania?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been, following it a little bit." And they said, "Well, why can't they catch him? They're really scared about this, and we live all the way in New York, so I can't even imagine what's going on in Pennsylvania where this guy is loose. I mean, didn't they lock down the schools and people are told not to go to work? And the neighborhood and the surrounding area is just terrorized, and we're on day 8 now. So their questions to me are like, why can't they catch this guy? They just saw him. If they just saw him on these cameras, why can't they catch him? And I don't have answers. So maybe you guys have some answers, but apparently this guy was convicted of murder on August 16th. He was, after a 15-minute jury deliberation, he was sentenced to life in prison on August 22nd. And you're telling me that he escaped on August 30th?
That is correct.
So he was only there for like a week, and he murdered his ex-girlfriend in front of her kids.
Yeah, he was there during the whole trial and being held in their custody. And just a short period of time after that, he was able to get out. Now, there's no question, we covered this last night, Melanie. The prisoners talk amongst themselves about this previous escape. That is probably something that was going around in that facility, and they talk about it. I mean, Russ and Anthony can tell you, these guys have nothing but time on their hands. They watch all the movements. They watch all the vulnerabilities. They see when the shift change. They know when someone's not in and there's not full staffing. They know everything. They're watching every move. So as you saw this guy back up and walk to that little vestibule, we look at Danelo Cavalcante. He looks, he watches, and I'm not 100% certain, but I know that the superintendent of police confirmed today that there was nobody playing watchman for him. We were speculating that one guy that was standing there watching, he had his back actually to this escaped prisoner, but he was able to just get out and evade any detection over an hour. It took them over an hour to realize that, oops, we're short one. The count is short one. Russ, I wanted to go to you about the counts because Anthony talked about that last night. Why would it take an hour? Could this have been in the middle or the beginning of rec time? Because they get they get an hour a day rec time outside. So could this escape have happened potentially in the beginning of that hour, and then at the back end? Is that when they do the count? Do they do the count when they go out and then come back in, or one time?
So I don't know exactly how Pennsylvania conducts their counts. In California, and it's been my experience, in most places around the country, they have several counts a day, and they usually have several during the night, which is the easiest time, of course, to count. And then they'll break down and they'll have 2 or 3 more during the day. Usually when the prisoners are returning, from some type of, recreational activity back to their dorms or back to their cell blocks, what happens is that's usually the time that's set aside, for them to actually conduct another physical count. And so in this case, I think there's every expectation that he was trying to do it on the front end of the count rather on the back end to give him, the maximum amount of distance that he could get from the institution before he would be discovered. I'm a little bit amazed that he was still in the area. Sometimes with some of these escapes, it's been my experience that they usually get a ride very quickly. They usually have someone who's already ready to pick them up. I'm glad to hear that in this case, though, they seem to have him pinned down in an area where he was still close, because that's, like I say, that's just been my experience in the past on escape details that I've been on.
Right. And it appears that they're just trying to wear him down and flush him out. But it comes at the expense of community unrest and community fear, and everyone's frightened. You can't go to the store without looking over your shoulder. They talked to a local pizza shop owner, and he said, I haven't had anybody come in here in a long time since this has gone on. Very few. They don't have delivery people going out. There's no lighting out there. We watched Chris from Fox 29 O'Connell. He's been driving around every night. And it is, if he didn't have the night kind of vision lens on his camera, he says it's pitch black. There is no lighting in that area anywhere, just maybe on the main roads. But when you're in those back roads, it's dark. But yeah, the concern for all of us is that he was able to just walk out and climb up on that roof, go down and jump down on the other side, and then just mosey on out. No changing of shift, correction officers, no people, there's civilian employees, there's all kinds of people coming in and going out of these facilities. Not one person saw him unless he did it really quick and ran for the hills. I just don't see it. I looked at the overhead shot of this place. It's massive. It's massive. It had to have taken him at least a good 5 minutes to get off of that property. 3 to 5 minutes to get off of that property. I don't know. I got no answers for it. Let's look at the chat, because the chat's going crazy.
I have a question for you. Have they called in the National Guard?
The National Guard has.
I was watching you guys last night. Like, Anthony's laughing at me.
The National Guard has to be requested by the governor, right?
Well, did he?
I don't think that they feel they need it. They have a ton of personnel. There is a lot of. I'm looking at the live shots.
Yeah.
I'm looking at multiple state and Maryland is lending their whirlybirds to them. So they've got multiple helicopters up from the Pennsylvania State Police. They have all of the local police that have helicopters as well. They're going through, and it's a cycle. They have they have tons of horseback, tactical guys on horseback, guys and girls. They have the canines. There's a ton of personnel. Yeah, you can always use more. But again, the National Guard, they're usually deployed when you have if you have major disasters. And, we could classify this as, not a national disaster, obviously, or a major disaster, but this can turn into mass casualties. So, but I believe that the state superintendent, he's in charge of making that call and that request. He'll go to the governor's office or through the attorney general's, and they'll make that request. But I don't believe it's been made, and I haven't heard that question asked by reporters. Have anybody heard that in the chat? Did any of the reporters ask that at these press conferences?
I got it from somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I think the people of Pennsylvania might disagree. I mean, I don't know. I did see it somewhere, and I was told or heard, or the reporters talking, or whoever the talking head was, saying that this is what the National Guard does, and they do it very well. But you know, maybe that's incorrect information, and I don't want to spread misinformation. But
the U.S. Marshals are the premier branch of the federal government the U.S. Marshal Service, that's what they do. They do that the best. They will find fugitives of justice. They know how to search for them. They know everything about this stuff, and they're on it. The U.S. Marshals are on it. They're at those press conferences. The National Guard, they're not, professional. They're not professionally trained to search for an potentially armed escaped murderer. The police and the U.S. Marshals. The U.S. Marshals have been doing it over 100 years. They know this stuff, and they're really good at it. So
maybe for optics, to make the people feel safer.
I mean,
the residents,
perimeter security, to secure perimeters. Yeah, because we saw it down in Texas with Gonzalo Lopez. They took all of the state of Texas. They took all of their Department of Corrections personnel, and they gave them shotguns. I remember seeing this, and they had chairs for them to sit all along the highway, and they were just sitting and standing there, periodically getting up and down in the Texas heat with shotguns, just waiting for this guy to come out of the woods. He wound up shooting it out with Texas authorities with an AR-15 that he stole from the Collins family, and he used it on them to kill them, to murder a family of 5. The grandfather and all of his grandchildren. They were there on a weekend retreat because the Texas Department of Corrections told them that it was okay to go back. Everything's secure. It's good. You're good. And they wound up going in there and getting killed. Anthony, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think when you bring in a bunch of different agencies, and you have certain agencies like the U.S. Marshals, that's primary function is to assist definitely with escape. Sometimes
I got to cut you off. I want to go to him quick. He's on here. I want to hear what he has to say.
Work as many.
Damn it! He went an advertisement.
There's hard work and there's work.
As the search for Danelo Cavalcante continues tonight.
Work as many.
What is going on
There's
here?
hard work and there's working hard.
We gotta listen
you
to
can
this.
get worked up, or you can get down to work.
For over 20 years, Commonwealth Charter Academy.
I want to pause it. It's 15 seconds. I have an ad block, but Fox 29 doesn't let you use it. It says you have to undo it to watch. So I undid it.
Are we not allowed to make jokes during this live stream?
Because
it's like guns out on the panel here. What's going on? It's like me and all the guns are out. Sun's out, guns out.
Sun's out, guns out.
I saw Anthony last night. Anthony, it looks skinny. Well, I don't know what you're doing, but you working out, or are you sick? What's going on?
He's on the Atkins diet. He's on the Atkins diet.
Oh, really?
Nah.
I don't know. Everyone got quiet really fast.
Yeah, I know. That was a compliment, you guys. It wasn't, derogatory in any way, shape, or form, because they call me things on the show all the time.
I don't call you anything. I don't say anything. I don't say anything.
I just don't want
like, wow, you asked me to come on the show. I'm like, I don't know, but then I'm like, all right, well, they're on. I'll go on.
Well, I don't want to interrupt that little boy who's hosting Fox 29.
No. So Chris was talking. I wanted to hear what he had to say. He was outside of his truck, and now it's.
Can I finish my one thought then?
Yeah, finish it. I didn't think that this was going to happen, but you might get interrupted again if the commercial's over.
So I'm saying, and I've dealt with this at our level. Sometimes when you have too many agencies and their primary function, let's say in this case here, is to find and escape convicts. Sometimes when you bring in other agencies, there could be a level of competition because the one agency may believe that they're coming in on the back end of our failure. So now what happens here is that they make more effort, but they're not sharing information. I've seen it, guys. I mean, I know that definitely does happen.
I agree. Too many chiefs can spoil it. You can't have, there's the argument of too many chefs can spoil the food too. I think here, this could be certainly the case, but again, when I looked at the personnel, there is a massive amount of law enforcement from many different agencies all over the place, and we are only getting to see little tidbits from Fox 29 and the various outlets. We're not really getting to see all of what's really going on, but I showed a couple of clips tonight from I think ABC affiliate there, local in Philadelphia, and they were showing the state police in the helicopters hovering really low at the Longwood Garden location, and this was broad daylight. You know, big, huge size helicopters down really low on the ground, doing the searches. So they're doing work night and day here. This is a 24/7 operation, and they're going to be working until they get this guy into custody. And the sighting of him today gives me renewed hope that yes, in fact, he is in that area. They didn't put that out, and they might be not putting that out for good reason. But I would have to say that tomorrow we'll see more of that trail cam video come out, just to see for the public to help. In other words, he could have changed his appearance. He could have found the razor or a shaver and shaved that grubby beard off. We don't know. But you do want to get the most current look at this guy. Granted, we looked at the August 30th Spider-Man feet climbing up that wall. He may look a lot different as he was recorded on trail cam video at this Longwood Garden location. It's just so frustrating because everybody understands that this is a very, very dangerous situation. This is a brutal murderer. This is a guy who has no regard for human life. And whoever gets in his way, whether it's by chance or by accident or on purpose, he's not going to go easy. He's not going to just put his hands up. And the order from the governor and the order from this police superintendent is, if he does not comply, shoot to kill. And they said it at the press conference. I heard it with my own ears. So they're not taking any chances with this guy because he's killed 2 people. It's not going to stop him. It's not going to stop him from just all of a sudden listening to mama on a pre-recorded message in his native tongue. And he's just going to go, okay, mama. And there's reports that he doesn't even get along with his mom. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, there's all kinds of people out there. Melanie, you can attest to this, and Russ, you know the deal, and so do you, Anthony. There's all kinds of people out there that are saying, "Oh, we saw him. We have a sighting of him," and they're just playing games. And to the people that are doing that, if you in fact are doing this, shame on you, because this is not a game. This is not a game. This is people's lives are at stake here. This community is in danger. All right, let me just go to Chris because I waited for this
I guess
moment.
the latest
Let's see what he's got to say. All right, Chris.
2 people within the new search zone got reverse 911. One was a call, one was an email, or maybe a text alert telling people that they are in the search zone. Be vigilant, be careful. I'm trying to get a copy of what it is, but it's what's been happening recently on a regular basis are these updates from Chester County Emergency Management telling people in the zone to keep vigilant, say something, say something, see something, say something.
So he's looking at his feed right now. He's reading all of his updates. So he does this a lot where he's looking and listening to stuff and then he puts it out. But he's getting the most accurate stuff up to date.
All right, sorry, let me punch up another camera.
So this is great. This is live on the outside of the perimeter at Longwood Gardens. This is
I'll
a
take
look.
some questions if anyone has any.
So he's looking at his Facebook Live and YouTube.
Let me get my Facebook up too.
All right. I'm going to mute him because this would be something. I'm going to link him in the description. I want to just go back to my esteemed guest because I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Let's talk about the correctional facility going forward. The district attorney was, and I'm sparing everybody that 33-minute press conference. Maybe I'll link it in the description. Maybe at the end of this, I'll play it. But during today's press conference, the district attorney who prosecuted this savage beast, she said that he will not be returning to that facility. And that question was asked quite a bit last night, Anthony, if you remember. People asked, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I went out on a limb and said,
oh, hell no.
That's when I said this mofo is not going back to the place where two people escaped in a matter of a short period of time. So she confirmed when asked by it was actually Fox 29. It wasn't Chris. It was one of the reporters there. They closed her right in and said, hey, if you get this guy into custody, is he going back to Chester County Prison? And she said, no, he will not. And then they asked her where he would be going. And she said, a state prison, max security. Russ, your thoughts?
Yeah, there's nothing like being given a chance to fumble the ball again to make things really look worse. I think in this case, they also have to shield themselves from liability. They have enough liability out there right now, and the fact that he hasn't returned. But he's at the point he could say and do anything to try and get back out again. I mean, he could. I've actually seen this. So although it sounds crazy, he could, injure himself and claim it was the officers there, and try and get a medical transport out and all sorts of things. And he might be more believed in that situation. What he obviously needs is a situation where the restrictions on him are going to go significantly up, and he's not going to be afforded this opportunity again. I don't know what level they are in the particular place that he escaped from. But from now on, because he has that escape, he will always be in the next custody hire from whatever he was.
Will he be in solitary, Russ?
Don't like to use that word because, I like it for reasons that there's really no solitary. But what they will do is he'll be restricted. Yeah, let's call it that. Let's call it in the hole. He will be, at least for a time, very much restricted into a much more restrictive environment where, he'll probably have, only one-on-one or two-on-one recreation yards, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think that what you'll see is eventually he'll have to be returned back out, not necessarily into a general population type of thing, but into a more restrictive setting that won't be quite, as elite, if I can use that word, as what he's going to be gone into after this. He will be in some type of what we call close custody setting, where he will be counted probably 2 to 3 times as often as other prisoners at whichever facility he's at.
So he'll eventually get his prison rights back. Like he'll be somewhere down the line after this fiasco that he's putting everything through. He'll be able to get his tablet and his typewriter, as Melanie would say. He's gonna have a typewriter. I mean, this guy's gonna be able to have down. Look, I'm PLM in Texas. How can they not put him in solitary confinement? Another person.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But
and
he'll be afforded the opportunity, based on the escape to, have a hearing. He'll be found guilty, obviously, of that. And then most places, and I can't speak specifically to Pennsylvania, but almost every state, they have a finite number of months that they can sentence them to secure housing or to administrative segregation, depending on what the terminology is. And so it's generally, it's not forever. This guy could be a special case. We'll see what happens if he commits any more crimes while he's outside there, because there still is the potential for that, unfortunately.
There's also some level of jailing with that too, and how you identify what status they're in. Like, I mean, usually you don't want to keep somebody more than a year in the highest level of restriction. But what you also could do, which still is very restrictive, is I could put him in a PCGP.
What is that? Could you? I mean, some people don't know.
I could, like let's say we don't really use solitary confinement. You may have like some level of restorative housing or restrictive housing, administrative segregation, even though segregation is a little bit of a scary term. But what you could do is you could take them or let him exhaust his time at a restorative housing unit, which would be like, what we want to equate to solitary, which again, we're not a real big fan of the word. And then what can wind up happening is because of what he's done and outside of that, the threat he poses, there could be a management control unit that has a certain amount of levels that he'll have to work through. So it's not going to be an easy transition from, let's say, the RHU to the MCU. But then also, if I feel that the person is a threat, there's other units I can put him in that's very highly restricted, but I can still provide him with his rights. The big thing about the rights is the one that seems to be the most hassle out of them all, because there's a lot, is going to be that yard.
Right.
Getting individuals' yard seems to be the biggest concern. That's the thing that the lawyers also always push. So I'd have to make sure that I can put them in a very restrictive environment and still accommodate that yard. But if I can accommodate all those things, I could keep them in some high-level secured housing because I'm still giving him his rights. So I think that's a challenge.
Yeah, and we're getting ahead of ourselves because this is the only if he's taken in alive, right, Melanie?
I'm going with Robbie on this one.
Yeah. So Melanie's highlighting a comment from Robbie in Australia, our good friend. She says, "I think Danelo will be coming back in a box."
Yeah, there's no way this guy's coming back alive. I mean, you guys are
telling
us what will happen if, but I don't.
I have pictures of Gonzalo Lopez, and I keep mentioning him, escaped prisoner from down in Texas, Leon County. When he shot it out with the deputies, with the Texas authorities, they lit him up like a Christmas tree. And somebody, don't ask me how I got it, but I've never shared it. I never would share it. But I got sent to one of my social media outlets an actual photo of him shot up on the ground, and it was brutal. I think he fired something like 68 rounds at the deputies, and they returned fire double or more back at him. So it was a blazing shootout. He stole a vehicle. I want to just play this piece. Anthony, I'm going to mute you because I'm hearing myself in your mic. You suck. We got to get the mic fixed, Anthony. Look, he's like, it's not me. I swear it's not me. If I undo it, you'll hear it. It's coming. Well, yeah, it's you. I don't know why. I don't know what the hell that is. But I'm going to hook you up. Don't worry about it. I got you covered. Russ, you're perfect tonight. All right. Here's the district attorney. I want you guys to hear this. Why am I here?
And that alerts do go out. The first prison escape in May, he was captured within 5 minutes, is my understanding. So I don't even know if there was a time for alert to go out, but I don't know that information conclusively. They are sending out alerts repeatedly through reverse 911 calls, and they keep expanding the perimeter and the radius to where they send those locations or those notifications. So they are on high alert, and those communities that are affected immediately are alerted right away. So I know that the time frame is very rapid from when they are alerted and until when they have an incident.
Concerned though that, I mean, I know it's under investigation, but this is supposed to be a facility that holds in these dangerous people. This guy is convicted of murder.
Absolutely. You know, this is an outrage. This should have never happened. You know that I was the prosecutor who was assigned to this case, and I helped convict this man, and he was sentenced to life without parole. We're all upset. We're all concerned, and there will be a thorough investigation, and that will be made public at some point.
District Attorney Ryan, can you speak to the victim of Deborah for a moment and her family? And I'm assuming that.
So this reporter asks about the victim's family, the woman, his girlfriend, who he killed brutally, stabbed her multiple times. The reporter is asking, are the police providing protection? Because this family has to be petrified. Petrified. Think about what they're thinking right now. Holy shit. The guy who killed my daughter, my sister, my cousin, my aunt is now out.
They do have protection, and they are terrified. They haven't left their home. They're barricaded inside and very concerned about their safety. We do have police detail around them 24 hours a day. but I know they're very, very worried.
Ms. Ryan, when's that? You send him back to Chester County Prison?
He will not be going back to Chester County Prison.
And when captured, what charges might he face? I mean, what does this bring from a criminal liability?
He's charged with escape right now. That's a felony.
Where will he go? Chester County Prison?
He'll go to a state correctional institution.
The one that he was sentenced to?
He hadn't been assigned to anyone yet. He was on the way to Smithfield to be assigned to another location.
Sorry if this is already asked, but will you all release the video of the Parole escape?
No, we're not focusing on that right now. Our primary mission is to get this guy in custody. That's where.
So what he asked there, and I'm just going to take this other piece out of my ear because it's too loud. He asked her, will you be releasing the full video of him running off from the jail? In other words, what I was saying before, I want to see when he jumped down over on the other side of where that camera is. I saw only one little quick shot of him coming down. Most news outlets aren't playing it. I can't find it again. If somebody has that, send it to me. I'd love to play it. But I searched for it. Anthony, I'm going to unmute you. Hold on. Oh, he unmuted himself. Wow. It says I can't unmute him because he muted himself. So that's what they just asked her. Will you be releasing the full video? And I want to see that. I don't know about show of hands in the chat. Who wants to see that? I want to see, did he just blend in and just kind of like, did he John Travolta out with the can of paint in his hand? Or, what did this guy do? And she said, no, that's not what we're focusing on. Russ, I saw you shaking your head when she was talking about that he wasn't set up for permanent housing. He was still in that. We're going to talk about that when we come back. But let me play the rest of this because this gets a little more interesting here. I'm going to just put it back. So listen closely here, guys.
Yeah, he was on the way to Smithfield to be assigned to another location.
Sorry if this is already asked, but will you all release the video of the Parole escape?
No, we're not focusing on that right now. Our primary mission is to get this guy in custody. That's where all of our attention is focused at this moment.
Ms. Ryan, did your office answer the motion seeking a retrial or a resentencing for this defendant, Mr. Cavalcante? I know the judge denied it, but did your office have a response to their pursuing a new trial?
We did not respond. The judge decided that on his own. Yes.
Just a follow-up question.
Melanie, did you hear that?
I couldn't hear the question. If you play it again, I'll listen closer in my earbud.
Okay. All right, here we go. I had to put both of them in because audio is just coming out of one side. So I always just listen with one side, so I had to put both.
Will you all release the video of the Parole escape?
No, we're not focusing on that right now. Our primary mission is to get this guy in custody. That's where all of our attention is focused at this moment.
Ms. Ryan, did your office answer the motion seeking a retrial?
Motion seeking a retrial. He was asking her if her office answered the motion for a retrial, and she said the judge, pretty much. I'll let the rest of it play.
For this defendant, Mr. Cavalcante, I know the judge denied it, but did your office have a response to their pursuing a new trial?
We did not respond. The judge decided that on his own. Yes.
So what does that mean, Melanie?
It means he decided it without opposition. No, you're not getting a retrial. They don't even need to respond, is what it means.
Right, but that's kind of standard procedure but the attorney that filed for that didn't think that he was going to break out of prison, right?
No, I think in light of the circumstances, the judge just denied the motion. I think that's what I mean, look, the guy was only sentenced on, like we said, he'd only been in this prison for a week.
Exactly. So Russ, I saw you shaking your head. I wanted to go to you, and then I'm going to go to Anthony on what they were saying here. Is that's the procedure. And you guys have, Anthony, you've covered it many times with us. Someone gets sentenced and sent to a temporary. I think we talked about this with Murdoch. So this is what he was at. This is the status of where he was. He was just there in that transition stage where he was going to get sent, as we would say here in New York, upstate, right?
It's an intake. They go through an intake first, and then they figure out based on their status, their classification, what facility will best meet those needs. So I think the first facility he would be going to would be the facility that would decide that, but they would look to, he would be one that you would move quickly to a more permanent housing.
Okay. And Russ, when somebody like this comes in to, let's just say, this Chester County Prison, and we don't really know much about there, and you guys have said this too, we don't know much about the structure and how they do things, but I mean, it's pretty centralized when it comes to somebody of this caliber coming in. You know, he's convicted of a murder. They know that he committed another murder outside of this country and fled here. No extra. I mean, he was pretty much on his own out there in that rec yard. Maybe there was one or two correction officers out there. Is that like standard for really bad guys like this? Or I mean, I don't know. I'm just a lay guy.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, that does tend to kind of be what the standard is. I won't say that many of the places that I've seen, you know, have a little, you know, higher rate of observation, if you will. But, you know, sometimes a lot of these places, they're so undermanned and, you know, they tend to, you know, fall down and just not be looking at people as closely. This appears to me to be a situation that he took advantage of, you know, some complacency and some, you know, prior incidents. Right. He may have heard of this thing from someone else. I think that, unfortunately, the standard needs to come up. I think that there need to be more eyes on people like this. I don't know what they tended to do. We used to have officers patrolling both the ground, you know, where they were doing their rec and lethal overhead, you know, where I started at least. But this is just apparently not the case there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Anthony, yeah. You anything else to add to that?
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple of things. I wanted to mention, that's a serious blind spot that should have been discovered the first time. That's a concern that I have. Also, I mean, to be honest with you, we also tend to go on inmates' behaviors in the facility as well. I mean, I've worked at facilities where everybody had football numbers and they're walking around freely. I mean, wow. You know, it really goes by also their behavior, because eventually if they're doing what they're supposed to do within the prison, you're going to have people on the outside pushing for this person to, you know, get out of those higher restrictions, but still, you still got to meet the other needs that relate to their safety and security. So it's a very tough balance in today's corrections, where you got people sacrificing the important for the urgent. And then what happens here is we have to work in a world that's moving, which allows, believe it or not, for these things to occur more often than not, because the world in corrections has become very open because of the pressures from the outside. And again, not to minimize if we have negligence here or corruption, whatever we got, it's not to minimize that, but it's to give people an understanding that the world we are involved in corrections is not lock the key and forget about anymore. The doors are open, and when we close them, we have to explain why. That's where it becomes the issue. We have to explain why every time we lock someone in, but when we open it, knowing it's good until they escape. You know, I mean, it's just a very balance.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying, because I remember as an NYPD police officer, if we lost a prisoner, just say transporting to central booking, or somebody that we were interrogating in the interview room, or someone slips out of our precinct in our holding cells, I mean, it was a huge hit for whoever the arresting officer was and whoever was on the desk. So whoever was in charge of that, of the facility, it just went from the top down. Everyone got in trouble, but the main one that got in trouble was the person. If it was my prisoner, I would be 30 days of vacation taken away, and possibly, you know, like a command discipline, like a negative thing in my file. But they went one step further here. They made this guy go on administrative leave, and he's probably going to be the fall guy. They're going to probably try to fire him. And I don't know what kind of unions they have there. I think it's horrible. I think that, you know, when you look at stuff like this, it is, like we said from the beginning, this is an operational issue, and this is something that needs to be corrected. Hey, if you guys don't mind, I want to say, first of all, thank you to all of my guests here, Melanie, Russ, and Anthony. If you guys don't mind, I want to go to the chat because I promised that this would be a little bit of a open forum where folks can do a little bit of a town hall with us. So if you have questions as it pertains to this fugitive, hashtag Anthony, hashtag Russ, hashtag Melanie, or hashtag DutyRon, or all of them. If you want to get crazy, you could put all the hashtags in. But I'm going to look at the chat now because I want to highlight some of your comments, and we'll get to them. This is a new felony charge. The escape is, as you heard the district attorney say, it's a felony. She seemed very upset. She was upset because she's invested in this thing. She got this guy convicted. She got justice for the family. And now the family, as she heard, is scared shitless because the person who's responsible for murdering their loved one is out. And is he going to come back after them? He has family ties in this community. Truffles, thank you for the $10 super chat. It is a clusterfuck, to say the least. This is really horrible. So let me look at the chat. Hold on a second. Hold on. 2 seconds. I'm just looking at the chat.
Hey, DutyRon, can I say something real quick?
Of course.
When you have an escape, obviously people look at the facility. The first they're going to go at the highest level of operations to see if there's a systematic concern, and sometimes you could have weak management that will push it down to human error by maybe throwing someone under the bus like the tower. But with that said, I understand why the prosecutor, I mean, think about this. She works with the family. This is a big loss for her because her effort to protect the family is by making sure he goes through this justice system. And then we partner with that to help her carry out her hard work and effort in doing that. And when there's that failure, it's not just the failure to do our job and hold them in. It's the greater level of failure that we have a monster out there that can further hurt that family or others. And if it turns out to be a systematic concern, you're looking at reinventing everything that facility does, because I have a feeling, and Russ was touching on it before, they may not know what they don't know because they've been so complacent in their routine that you would have to literally go there, like Russ said, with a fresh set of eyes and literally like a video game, reset that facility, because we're doing it all wrong. We're doing it all wrong.
Just to have that failure twice, for me, is just like that. That's a telling thing. It's like, shame on you once, right? But in that same short period of time, in the same year, to have a second one, I mean, it's not unheard of, but this is just a bad look. And head should roll for it. And look, we already see a deputy warden, a temporary interim deputy warden, because the warden of the place stepped down. They let him resign. So he resigned and is getting his pension. If he didn't get fired, he's going to be able to get his pension. What you're looking at is a little bit of live on the scene footage. It's not live in real time. It's something that was recorded by Chris in the recent, last 35 minutes after the 10 o'clock live was put out there. So this is just activity that you're seeing going along. Some of it looks like emergency personnel, some of it looks like news personnel. So we're just looking at that. I'm looking at the chat and I didn't see any hashtags. Melanie, do you have anything that you want to add at all?
Yeah, I think that prosecutor sounds not only nervous, she sounds terrified. I mean, I'm sure she's worried this guy's going to come after her, and he might. And they got a major liability problem here. You want to talk about liability? They had another guy escape the exact same way. How long ago? From the exact same location.
Same
and they didn't do anything to secure that up, to secure that breach. If this guy wreaks havoc out there in the public, there's going to be major ramifications legally. Forget it. I mean, this is insane. And people are asking in the chat, do you think he had help? Has there been any indication that he was helped by anyone? But
nobody knows, Melanie, because we don't have him in custody, right? So he could have had help. He could have had help. He could have help, or maybe he did it on a whim, and somebody told him, "Hey, 4 months ago, so and so, Low, I think his name was Loeb or whatever his name was. He got out, and this is how he did it." And maybe he just did it on a whim. He had it looked like either a towel or an extra an extra shirt wrapped around the back of his in his pants as he was going up. I'll show it in a little bit.
Like Spider-Man.
But that was maybe used to avoid getting banged up by the additional barbed wire on the top of the roof, because there was, from that first breakout in May, they hired a company, a private contractor, to come in and put more barbed wire on the top of the roof where he was shimmying up. Add more barbed wire so you can't, to prevent what happened in May happen again, and he was able to get around it. Let's say hello to the super chatters. Robbie from Australia says, hello, all you wonderful friends. Thank you, Robbie. Also, Robbie, a member for 3 months, says, I'd love to see Danelo try to break into DutyRon's house. Well, I got a couple of toys that I would meet him with, and it wouldn't end well for him. Monique is a member for 11 months, and she says, have they checked any vacation or vacant homes? That's a great question. I haven't heard anybody talk about that, Monique. And I keep referring to Gonzalo Lopez. Watch and look at Gonzalo Lopez, my playlist. I'll link it down below. This happened over a year ago. They were marking the homes as they were checking them with like a little yellow flag. And I was laughing at that because all Lopez had to do is take one of those little flags from one of the marked houses and go to the place where he was holed up. He took a shower. He was using the facilities to, do his business. In another house, he broke into, I think, 2 or 3 homes and took one of those flags from a checked home and put it on the unchecked one that he was in. So there's ways. None of this stuff is foolproof. So yeah, they haven't mentioned anything about that, Monique, and that's a great question. Kel, a member for 6 months, says, so glad I finally caught a live. I'm going to miss it tomorrow. Have to work. Thank you for all you do, DutyRon. Praying for a capture soon and hope all are safe. Amen to that, Kel. Teresa Norman says, she became a member. Thank you for being a member. Becoming a member. Lilac Whispers, thank you for the super sticker. I call it super love. Thank you for the super love. I appreciate that. Thank you. Arlene sends in another super sticker. Thank you for the super love. Moni, so New York City, super sticker, $5. Thank you for the super love. Truffles, $10. He should be in the highest security facility that there is. I think he should be buried under the jail. Russ gave a thumbs up on that one. I agree. You can't give this guy another chance, no matter what. And I'm sure it's going to follow him throughout his whole time. If he makes it back into custody alive, it'll follow him wherever he goes, as my executives here, my professionals, my correction professionals have said. KNS, thank you for the $20. I appreciate you. Love and respect. Right back to you. Robbie, you are a badass with the super chats. Australia, can we airdrop some poison tacos? Holy shit. That's a good one, Robbie. Thanks for the laugh. I don't know how I missed that one. Yarn Barf is a member for 13 months, and she's being sassy. Thank you, Yarn Barf. Amber, 9 months member. Thank you for your long time subscriber and membership. Hello to everybody. Well, hello to you, Amber. Thank you. All right. Let me go to the chat, for crying out loud, because nobody's putting hashtags in. And if they have, I must have missed it.
I saw some. I saw a lot of questions asking Russ and Anthony to address how he got through the barbed wire.
Yeah.
How they think he did it.
All right, and before you go, Anthony, this is the fire department with some type of stanchion device. I'm not quite sure what they're doing here, but this seems like they're getting something that they could view and go up. It looks like one of those, like something you would use on a building to do construction or painting. And it looks like these are non-law enforcement personnel. It looks like a kid climbing up there on the side, and it looks like they're setting up something to where they can view into perhaps the high cornfields or the high grass. And this is all a part of searching for fugitive Danelo Cavalcante. Go ahead, Ant.
No, so one of the gentlemen put down that, the tower person obviously being held ultimately responsible because it's the last line of defense. Yes, but when you look at prison operations, there's also a first line, a second line, a third line, a fourth line. It's how we run operations. We have layers of fail safe. So when you have an escape, people from the outside, the first thing they may see is just the immediate, what's in front of them. But what they don't realize is that there's probably a lot of step before that had failed. I mean, and also for the people that have been asking, could they tell if he was alone? The investigative divisions have access to every phone call he's made. What they're going to do is they're going to secure his cell, get access to any correspondence, kind of do their due diligence. So I do believe if this was planned, they can easily find that out. I believe they could through their due diligence.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that, Anthony. All right, so someone's in the chat saying that was a car accident or a crash. Whoever, if that is the case, I hope that person is okay. I heard an earlier report that there was a state trooper that was either hit by a car or something happened on the roadway. Here's a hashtag Russ. They're throwing questions at you. Our good friend Jeff from Wyoming says, Russ, how much more time will this son of a bitch get if he's not shot dead? How much extra time, thank you for that question, by the way, will he get for this felony? I mean, he's already got life in prison, Jeff.
That's
tack on another.
That's the thing is that with life in prison, he's perhaps not going to get any more. It's going to depend on, how much more that they think that they might have to tamp down if there's any chance that he can get out with a life sentence in Pennsylvania, which I don't know directly. In California for non-use of force escape, it's entirely, dependent on what the penal code says. And generally, I believe it's 318 or 36 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 to 5 months, depending on if it's 3 to 5 years. If it's a walk-off and there's no barriers that's preventing the person from escaping, they usually count it as a walk-off. They get a lesser sentence and it usually carries consecutive. But if there are obstacles in their way, like fences, or they took someone hostage, they'll be added to that. But if they're just climbing over fences like this guy did, it could be 5 years consecutive. But there's a caveat though. They'll put an alert on his classification, and then eventually through that alert, he will never be classified into lower levels of custody because he is an escape risk.
Interesting. Again, like I said, he's got a life sentence without parole. If he is brought back into custody, he's going to face the felony escape charges, but he's also has the potential to be charged with several counts of burglary because he broke into homes. And if that is confirmed as well, they'll tag those charges as well onto him and any other crimes that he may commit. He may try to carjack somebody. Look, we can see a whole host of really bad stuff that could happen here, but it is what it is. Melanie, you got anything? I see you moving around.
I do. I do think she says, Rose says, do you think there's security around the prosecutor? Yeah, I think there's security around the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the judge, 100%. Because who knows what this guy could do.
Yes. Thank you for those. Thank you for those questions. I'm going to fast forward and see what Chris is talking about now. I know he's probably off the air. Let's just see if this is, oh no, he's just fixing it for his shot.
Yeah. I'm flying by the seat of my pants out here.
I love this guy. He's awesome. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants in the middle of nowhere.
I can imagine what it's like for him not being able to sleep, because if he goes to sleep, he risks running into that guy at the wrong time.
Yeah. No, I think he wraps up after the 11 o'clock hour. He's probably heading home or heading back to the news studio and then an overnight.
I hope so.
Yeah, but he's out there for a long time. I mean, this guy.
We used to go out on some, escapes all night long, and there was absolutely no sleep, and it was about the worst duty you could have.
I've told you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, let me just see. Let me fast forward. Yeah, it looks like they're on the move. Oh, they're going to different locations. Let's see what he is.
Zone, as now we are going on day no further west than.
All right, let's see.
Does anybody know when the last
Cavalcante along
and where?
Say that again.
Oh, I thought you were breaking. I said, does anybody know when the last confirmed sighting of this guy was and where?
Today at 6 o'clock, and it was in the Longwood Gardens section. He was seen on trail camera, and that's what we were talking about. There was that infamous trail cam from over the weekend, over this Labor Day weekend. It was on somebody's property, and this new sighting today is in that same area. So he's coming back to similar zones. But let me just listen to what he was saying, because he's talking about the search, the zones. Let's just let this play.
That prompted another huge response. That also prompted. Right now, there is a heavy police presence within this new search zone. Tactical SWAT gear. There are also fixed-wing aircraft in the air searching right now. It was after 6 o'clock tonight when a trail cam picked up the image of Cavalcante along the Longwood Gardens property, and that prompted another huge response. That also prompted, with some new information, state police extended the entire search area and really changed it to where it is now on the western border of Longwood Gardens. And if we can maybe, I don't know if we can bring up that.
Just before he goes any further, look at this roadway without these lights from all of the personnel or for the security of this perimeter. There's no street lights. Anybody picking up on that? There's nothing.
That map once again.
Yeah.
The map where we're talking,
just like Ocean Parkway,
talking about of this new search area. It's Route 1 from North Walnut Street and Northbrook Road. That is the western edge. North Walnut east to Parkersville Road. The eastern borders Parkersville Road. To the north, Lenape Unionville Road, and to the west, to Northbrook Road, south to 926. So this is a new perimeter. As we actually just kind of pulled over here, we are inside the search zone, and I just want to kind of show you what they're dealing with. Can we put lights on out there? Let me
watch this.
This is just a heavy brush. This is what search crews are dealing with. That's the kind of terrain, and you just saw some lightning in the area. So we are having some storms that may affect the search right now. You see some more flashing lights up.
The reason you could see, obviously, in the front is because of the headlights. But when he panned to the right, the camera is night vision. It's got infrared, not that technology, but it gives you. It's a camera that will give you good vision at night. If that camera, that technology wasn't on there, you would just be seeing pitch black.
There, but once again, this is another sleepless nights for many people here in this area, not just in this immediate area, but also the new search zone. People over the last few hours in Upper Marlboro Township and other places, Pennsbury Township, found out they are now new neighbors in a new search zone, as now we are going on day number 9 when we start tomorrow of the search for Danelo Cavalcante. I'm not headed to the Kennett Square Inn. I'll be going home.
So he's going home.
I really thought by this time we would have this thing wrapped up by now. Interesting assignment I do have for tomorrow. I'm not going to be on the air tomorrow night. So I don't know if I'll be doing the stream tomorrow, but maybe during the day I can stream. Actually, maybe not. We'll see. The reason being, I'm doing a morning assignment tomorrow, and I will be touring the command center for this search, the Pennsylvania State Police Command Center, where all of the law enforcement and search parties, horses, helicopters, that's where all they're stationed. They're stationed at the Unionville Community Center at a fire station there.
I'm going to see that.
Just a huge operation. So the media has been invited after some requests to see that. Oh, my soft pretzel almost dropped. So
I'm gonna show you what this guy started off 5.5 hours ago, and this live stream is almost 5 hours. Oh no, 3.5 hours. Let's just see.
Gardens, technically the search zone by way of a map. The one I'm looking at from Andrew, one of my followers. I follow him. Okay, guys. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with this camera for a
It was
second. We're
raining,
actually
and this
getting on
camera
top
guy
of our
climbed
camera
on the
or our
top.
truck right now.
He climbed on the top to
wipe
clean the camera.
the lens. Huh?
Is that better or worse?
Oh, okay. Aaron, look at that. That quick, he wiped the lens?
That looks better.
Hold on, let me see.
Oh. I gotta get back in.
All right, let's get back in here and let's get the comments and let's wrap this up. I know, Anthony, you probably have to get up. What do you got to say, Ant? Anything?
Yeah, I just obviously you want to thank everybody who are making their efforts out there. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of people, sacrificing, their home time, whatever it is, time with their family. But as I said, I just one last thing. I'm sure as we revisit this, there's more information that's going to come out related to the total operations of this prisoner jail. But I know some people are talking about the tower and all. I don't want to pass judgment because a lot of people may not realize stuff that affect the running of a facility. So again, on the surface, everybody will be quick to blame the tower, saying that they're supposed to catch everything. Well, have you seen what everything looks like? Have you seen the size of yards? Have you know that there's maybe only one person? It takes a little distraction in this one area that can literally take that person's attention. So again, I'm not giving an excuse, but I really think before we start bastardizing the system or the people that are doing it, we really have to get in context of, what exactly does it mean when you are working a yard? I mean, how big of an area is it that you have to directly oversee? And that would be my 2 cents.
And I respect that, because the hundreds of thousands of inmates that are in custody across the United States, I don't have the numbers, but I know that it's huge. The percentages that get out are small, but I'm going to say this, but this is inexcusable. When you have a convicted murderer, we can't have this person reintroduced to the streets. It's just not something that we should be able to swallow. This is not a pill that I could swallow. And Russ, I see you shaking your head. There's no excuse for it. And again, with the police department, when we would have a prisoner escape and get out of our custody, it was a huge, huge issue, and we felt horrible about it. But human nature, these aren't machines, these aren't robots that we're dealing with. I want to just say this. Thank you to everyone who's hanging out here in the chat. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, to Anthony's Tier Talk, I'm going to link that in the description. Russ has his own, I believe, channel, he goes live with Anthony. Melanie Little, attorney Melanie Little, she's doing such great stuff on her channel. I want you guys to all go over there and subscribe to her YouTube channel. She brings it from the attorney's perspective with a lot of flair, and she's awesome. She has some great guests. She does a lot of stuff. So if you're not subscribed yet, go over there and check it out. If you guys don't mind, give this video a thumbs up, share it out onto your social media platform. And if you are subscribed, put a 1 in the chat. If you're first time here, new subscriber or new to this community, put a 2 in the chat. And I'm going to send out 20 free memberships in the chat right now. I'm going to gift it out, but I want to just make sure that everybody is either subscribed or let me know what your status is. And if you're new, just say new, because we'd love to say hello to all the new folks that are coming on in here. So there we have it. You just have to be subscribed. You got to hit that thumbs up, and then you get a chance to get some free memberships. I'm going to do it in 1 second. Here we go. Boom. Hopefully my credit card goes through. Melanie, what do you think?
What's the over under on this one today? I'm going to say, yeah.
Yeah, it goes through. It's going to go through. All right, there we go. 23 memberships. I love it. The chat's going crazy. Let's see who gets them. A lot of good friends, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of unfamiliar faces. Eddie T, what a great guy. He well deserved. Thank you, Eddie, for being a member now. Yeah, this is my way of giving back to you guys for hanging out here for almost 2 whole hours. Melanie, have you ever seen me do a 2-hour live stream?
You get tired. This is past your bedtime already.
I'm old. I'm old. Listen, the manhunt continues. Day 9. We're going into day 9 because here on the East Coast, it is the 11:20 hour. In another, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, we're going to be into a new day. Day number 9. Hopefully, they get this fugitive into custody. Danelo Cavalcante is someone who needs to be brought into justice for many, many different reasons. Think about the little children in those communities. Think about the elderly who cannot fend for themselves. They have to be so many petrified people in that zone and beyond. Think about it. People that live 20, 30 minutes from there. I'm seeing people in the chat here. Ashley Hannah, she says, I live here. For those of you who live there, I say this: you keep your lights on all around your house. If you have floodlights, keep them on. Don't worry about the electric bills at this point. Let the lights stay on. Light it up like a Christmas tree, your property. Make sure your doors and windows are closed and locked. And if you can have someone stay with you to make you feel a little safer, do that. If you don't have that capability, just do the best that you can to shore up your property and keep everything lit. If you are a legal owner of a firearm or a weapon, have that thing close by and be ready and prepared to use it if someone comes into your house. And these are the best pieces of advice that I can give you at this point. And it is a scary situation. Heather whatever says scary, right? Jeff Litweiler says locked and loaded. Jersey Devil, you're late to the party. I didn't get the notification. 2 hours. We're live. You're late to the party, young lady. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you to all the folks who are newly subscribed. Again, we're at 21 million views on this channel. 21 million people have viewed our content, and I thank you guys for that. We're up over 181,000 subscribers. In the last 28 days, 10,000 of you guys have joined us. So welcome to all the new folks that are here and hanging out on Crime Time with DutyRon. Tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have a forensic anthropologist, Dr. Murray Marks, a forensic odontologist, that's a dentist, a forensic dentist, Larry Dobrin from the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. He's going to be joining us. And we're going to have Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, a genetic genealogist. She is going to talk to us about everything as it pertains to the Gilgo Beach murders and Brian Kohlberger. So you're not going to want to miss tomorrow night's action-packed live stream. And Melanie, I think you're going live with your friend at 4:30, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock tomorrow. It's my friend who's a therapist wrote a book. It's called Hey Addiction, Thanks for Nothing. How to Love an Addict Without Losing Your Mind. It's a support for spouses, children, parents of addicts and alcoholics. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Bring your questions.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'll link that below in the description. Anthony, you want to show your books? You want to talk about anything that you got going on? I see Inmate Manipulation Decoded, but what about the new one?
So this is Inmate Manipulation Decoded. Guys, this is actually put on Amazon as a parenting, but if you're, if you need to know anything about manipulation, trust and believe, the game doesn't change whether they're locked up or outside. And then this is obviously pretty much the training guide for how to succeed in corrections. So this really gives you inside advice on how corrections operate. So if anybody that's curious, it gives you insight from people that, not just myself, but other people in the profession. And guys, thanks for the opportunity, because a lot of people, they make the assumption that they know. So to see the questions here and just, audience appreciating the work that's being done, regardless of this one isolated incident.
Right.
I just want to say thanks. Your audience is the best.
Thank you, Anthony. And you guys are the best. Russ, appreciate you taking out the time. Anthony, would you be willing to donate 1 or 2 of those books to the warden of the Chester County Prison, maybe?
You can get them to him.
I'll mail them to him. I'll put them in a FedEx. I'll fast forward it to him. I'll get it to him next day. Russ, thank you for taking out the time to hang out with us. Do you have anything? Do you have anything, books or anything that you might want to promote or anything?
I have things that are pending, but I only have those because Anthony, my mentor right there, has been on me really hard. And, I'm finally coming around. I'm getting some time to write. I've been much more enthused, had a lot going on in my life, unfortunately, but now I'm finally coming to a point where that book is coming. maybe at some point in the future, I can introduce it on your show.
Absolutely.
That would be fantastic.
I'd be honored to do that, Russ. And again, to the men and women who work behind the wall, a very, very difficult job. Brave men and women. The civilians and correction officers. They take evil. When we take evil off the street, we hand them off to them, and they have to babysit these guys and girls for the rest of their either times that they're there or the rest of their lives. So it's a difficult job, and I give thanks and praise to the men and women of corrections who deal with the worst of the worst on a daily basis. So thank you guys and girls for all you do. All right, guys, on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to wish everyone a good evening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. I'm sending strength, prayers, and positive vibes to all of the law enforcement in the community in the affected area in Pennsylvania. I'm hoping that everyone stays safe and that they get this savage animal into custody, this beast. It's not even an animal. He's a savage beast, this murderer into custody sooner than later. Good night from New York City, and thank you to my guests for joining. Take care, guys.